Today, we are dissecting Kenya, so let's start with something a lot of people don't even notice. It is the fact that in this country, some of the most powerful families have actually been operating for 3 to 4 generations, long before you were born, long before independence. But that brings us to the fact that the foundation of these empires actually date back to a very long time. Can you imagine, go-getters, that in this country, one family owns more than 500 acres of land? That's more land than some countries are. Another family built a manufacturing empire that now operates in over 40 countries. And the man who built it is 96 years old and still counting. A third family built its fortune during 24 years of iron-fisted rule and spread it across over 100 companies. And some of these families aren't even easy to find on public register. And 2 families were fortunate enough to even have given Kenya 2 of its former presidents. And obviously, they gained some additional empires that they have been keeping till date. We are talking of 5 powerful families, so powerful that they've touched almost every part of Kenyan daily life. The milk in your tea, the steel in the roof above your head, the news channel you watch in the evening, and even the bank that holds your savings. Now we start with our number 5 with a family that quietly became one of East Africa's most important dynasties without most Kenyans even knowing about them. We are referring here to the Ndegwa family. They built their fortune around banking, insurance, and finance. Their family wealth is estimated to be around $1.2 billion. The patriarch Philip Ndegwa was Kenya's central bank governor in the 1980s. He was a trained economist and the first Kenyan to accumulate $1 billion shillings. He understood Kenya's financial system from the inside because he helped design it. His family built their position around NIC Group, which eventually merged with the Kenyatta family's Central Bank of Africa to form what was baptized as the NCBA Group, which is actually one of the largest banks in East Africa today. ICEA Lion Insurance, real estate through Riverside Park, and financial interests that have compounded quietly for decades. Now, the most interesting part about this family is the fact that Philip Ndegwa was simultaneously governor of the central bank and a private bank shareholder. Now, let's take note that the combination of public regulatory authority and private financial interest is a kind of structural advantage that doesn't repeat itself often. He had the privilege of understanding monetary policy, banking regulation, and credit allocation from the inside. He then seized that opportunity to build private wealth in the same sector. Now, here's what later happened. In 2019, when the NCBA emerged, the Ndegwa and Kenyatta families actually found themselves sharing equity in the same institution, now formally partners inside one bank. That's decades of relationship building crystallizing into a single ownership structure. Now, done with finance, let's move to number 4, which has to do with food. This family, go-getters, was actually one of the smartest because they built their empire on something almost every Kenyan family needs on daily basis. Now, if you had guessed, we are referring to the Shah family. They are the ones behind Bidco Africa, and their wealth is estimated around a whopping $750 million. Ndegwa Shah started Bidco Industries in 1985 in Thika, just outside Nairobi. He was manufacturing edible oils. That's something not flashy but actually essential. So he focused on cooking oil, soap, margarine, and noodles. These are products that don't make headlines but are being seized off the supermarket shelves in East Africa every single day. Now, under his son Shah, Bidco Africa expanded to 13 countries and now employs over 25,000 people. Now let's go to their little secret. They built the affordable version of the essential thing. Their Elianto cooking oil, for instance, isn't for fancy restaurants. It is for your mom's kitchen. For the woman frying mandazi at the roadside stall at 7 a.m. That brings us back to what I always tell you on the channel, right? Once you position yourself as the affordable essential, you make yourself structurally hard to replace. And that's simply because your customers have no real alternative they can afford. Shah even said publicly that while many wealthy families spend on consumption, Bidco Industries actually reinvested on expansion, factory capacity, new product lines, new markets. That compounding reinvestment over 40 years is the Bidco's secret to success. Now, the Bidco story just reminded me of something. Bimji Dapa Shah looked at Kenya in 1985 and asked one simple question. What does every household need every day that nobody is making enough yet? His answer was cooking oil, and he built $750 million on that answer. A group of viewers on this channel are asking the same question right now about a different product, diapers. Now, it's that simple. Every baby born in Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, anywhere on the continent goes through diapers from birth, right? Now, take note of the fact that parents don't postpone that purchase when economy dips, simply because it is as essential as your cooking oil. And right now, most of those diapers are imported into Africa, which means they are expensive and inconsistently available. And no local brand has yet built the kind of trust and quality that makes people choose it over the imported options every time. That gap is exactly what Africa today is building into. A group of committed go-getters are already in, building this brand with us, not watching, actually in. If you've been on the fence about joining something real, this is the moment. And for you, my go-getters out there who weren't aware of this joint venture, now you are. To find out more and know how you can be part of this joint venture, please do well to email us at africatodayinfo@gmail.com. And please do well to boldly write diaper project so that our assistant can easily identify your email. Now back to the families, because we are about to go from consumer good to steel, and from 1985 all the way back to 1929 we'll be looking at the Chandaria family. Yes, Comcraft Group. At 96 years old, Manu Chandaria is still running it. His father arrived in Kenya from India in 1956, started a provision shop in Biashara Street in Nairobi. His family became part of a group that purchased a struggling aluminium company in 1929. That's where the Comcraft story actually began, not in boardrooms. It all started in a small shop on Nairobi Street over a century ago. Now, Manu Chandaria himself went to the university in India and then in Oklahoma. He studied engineering and came back to Kenya in the 1950s with a specific vision. Newly independent African nations were going to need steel. They were going to need roofing sheets, pipes, aluminum products, industrial materials. So he was smart enough to position Comcraft directly in the path of that demand. So by the time Comcraft reached its current scale, it was operating in over 40 countries across Africa and Asia, employing over 30,000 people and generating over $2 billion in annual revenue. Obviously, the largest manufacturer of aluminum products in Africa. Manu Chandaria is now 96. He is a committed Jinn, and his faith shapes how he runs the business. To him, profit is the means and not the end. It might inspire you go-getters to know that his family alone has donated over $100 million through the Chandaria Foundation. In 2022, he became the first African to receive the Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy. And he is planning to take several Comcraft subsidiaries public in the next 2 to 3 years. At 96, the Chandaria built this empire slowly, solidly, across generations, in the most essential industrial category that exists. The materials that actually put a roof over Africa's head. Now, number 2 takes us to the point where Kenyan wealth becomes inseparable from Kenyan power. The Moi family. estimated net worth above $3 billion. Though the actual figure has never been independently actually verified according to African Confidential. If you don't know, Africa Confidential is actually a respected political newsletter. Now, much of the family's capital is held through relatives, front companies, offshore accounts in Switzerland, and the structure spread across more than 1,000 countries. Daniel Arap Moi ruled Kenya for 24 years. That is from 1978 to 2002. In those 24 years, the Moi family accumulated interest in banking, media, aviation, logistics, real estate, agriculture, energy, education, and manufacturing. So they were basically everywhere. We are talking of over 100 companies, some of them well documented, and some of them considerably less so. Now listen carefully. They owned Standard Group, the parent company of KTN Television, Standard Newspaper, and several radio stations. They also owned Siginong Group, East Africa's largest integrated logistics provider, with freight, warehousing, and aviation handling operations across Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. They owned Kabarak High School and a network of other educational institutions. As if that was not enough, they hold over 300,000 acres of land, making them Kenya's second largest private landowners. And in 2003, WikiLeaks-connected documents alleged that the Moi family had used offshore networks and front companies to move over $2 billion in state funds into private accounts across Switzerland, Australia, and multiple other jurisdictions. And you know what? The family has never been convicted of any of these in any Kenyan court. Now, most people lose sight of the fact that the Moi family is not just a post-political business dynasty. The children, particularly Senator Gideon Moi, has actively expanded the portfolio since their father left office. The family moved into geothermal power through Sozian Menengai Geothermal. They retained a stake in NCBA through the Standard Chartered connection, and they bought back majority positions in assets they had previously divested. One thing that made this family outsmart the others is that they didn't stop when presidency ended. They kept building, and that's what separated them from political dynasties that collapse the moment they leave. And now, number one, their patriarch led Kenya to independence in 1963. Their land holdings over 500,000 acres, making them the largest private landowners in Kenya and possibly the whole of East Africa. But here's the number that just came out. In May 2026, for the first time ever, Muhoho's Kenyatta full banking state was publicly disclosed. 227.3 million NCBA shares, the largest single disclosed personal fortune on Kenyatta's entire stock exchange. His dividend from the stake alone in 2025 was 1.6 billion Kenyan shillings. And that's just one of his assets. Now, what's unique about Muhoho is the fact that he's the quiet one. No political career and almost no public interviews. One of the things he did silently was co-founding Brookside Dairy in 1993. And you know what, go-getters? Brookside Dairy now controls 60% of Kenyan dairy market. This was so smart because in a country that runs on tea and tea runs on milk, Brookside is basically infrastructure. And that's not all. We have heritage hotels across Kenya's most famous safari destinations. MediaMax network with K24 television. The Netherlands City project near Riuru, a private city being built on family land, projected to eventually house over 250,000 people with its own private airstrip already built and operation. Their domestic assets are independently estimated above $2.5 billion. Offshore structures linked to the family through the 2021 Pandora Papers remain undisclosed, and no charges have been filed. Despite all that, here's what I want us to actually focus on. When Uhuru Kenyatta left the presidency in 2022, like I said, the family's economic position didn't change. Yeah, elections don't move 500,000 acres. New governments don't reassign 60% of the dairy market. And for sure, the banking stakes keep paying dividends regardless of who sits in State House. That's what 60 years of building into the essential systems of a country actually looks like. Yago Getta's 5 families, land, steel, food, finance, and a political empire that kept expanding long after its founder left office. The main thing I want us to learn from these successful people is that none of them got here easily. Neither did they get here quickly. Remember that the Chandaria family started in 1915. The Kenyatta's family land accumulation began at independence in 1963. Then, Moi family spent 24 years in power, building what they have. Even the youngest on the list, Bidco, has been operating for 40 years. So what connects all 5 isn't luck. Because it's always easy for people to say, oh, it's luck, it's because his father was this, his mom was that. Not always. Let's learn to focus on the most logical parts of any story. If you look at all of these success stories I've been bringing, you will notice that there is a pattern. It's the same pattern we found in Ghana and Nigeria. And if you didn't know, we've covered similar stories on Ghana and Nigeria. You can check on our playlist, right? I'll be linking them below this video. And what's the pattern? I always say this on the channel. Find something people cannot stop needing. Something people need on a daily basis. Once you've identified yours, move on early before the market gets crowded. Next on, build relationships with the people who control the rules. And then stay patient, stay quiet, and let time do what money alone never can. The roof over your head, the milk in your tea this morning, the news you watched last night, the bank that holds your savings. Those are the secrets of these 5 families. Now you know their names. If this changed how you see Kenya, please do well to share it with as many people as possible. For we are about to do other countries, right? Because the series keeps going. That said, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on my next one.